Barefoot shoes aren't dangerous, but transitioning to them too fast could be. Don't treat switching to barefoot shoes like switching to another pair of traditional shoes. It's not quite the same. The way I describe it is it's more like starting a new training program in the gym for muscles you haven't used in years. When you switch to barefoot shoes, you're going to remove arch support, heel elevation, and all that cushioning you get. So your feet are going to have to do a lot more work than not used to. And if we don't give time for our body and feet to adapt, that's when we could run into problems. Tight calves, Achilles pain, sore arches. Not because the barefoot shoes are bad, but because the transition phase was rushed. If you want stronger feet instead of new injuries, we need a plan. Let's start by understanding why barefoot shoes are different and how we can approach the first 12 weeks to transition safely into barefoot shoes. Most traditional shoes have elevated heels, thick cushioning, arch support and narrow toe boxes, whereas barefoot style shoes, like those from Vivo Barefoot or Zero shoes, usually have zero drop, thin flexible soles, wide toe boxes and no artificial arch support. This means your calves, Achilles and foot muscles suddenly do work they haven't done in years. Okay, so you've just got your brand new pair of barefoot shoes. In the first couple of weeks, what I'd recommend is 30-minute walks 3 times per week. These would be short, relaxing walks just to test out the waters, and I'd recommend walking on softer and flat, predictable surfaces. You'll notice that the steps you take are probably going to be shorter strides, and how your feet land are going to be slightly different compared to the traditional shoes which had more support. Don't worry about it too much and just go with what feels natural. In weeks 3 to 4, I'd then move on to doing 30 minutes daily. We'd be concentrating on walking every day and building up exposure to the barefoot shoes. We're building consistency and allowing tissues to adapt. If you get a bit of mild soreness, that's fine, but sharp pain, then you probably need to scale back. It's all about building up gradually. During these first few weeks, be mindful of things you're walking on, such as small rocks or gravel, which are going to feel much sharper when you're wearing barefoot shoes compared to cushion shoes. Once your feet have adapted to daily 30-minute walks, it's time to look at increasing the duration. When you go on to weeks 5 and 6, I'd then alternate between 1-hour walks and 30-minute walks and begin exploring slightly varied surfaces, such as trails and rocky paths. Now we've got to week 7 or 8, we're then going to go up to 1-hour walks daily. And again, you can mix in different surfaces. You can go up hills, go on light trails. If you do get any of this persistent soreness, just remember to gradually build up. And if you need to go back to previous steps, that's perfectly fine. You can start to use barefoot shoes for running casual errands and outings, such as going to the shop. Even 10 to 15 minutes extra around town will help build exposure and adaptation without adding strain. Now it's time for the long duration phase and potentially using these shoes all day. In weeks 9 and 10, we then increase the duration further. So we now add in 3 2-hour plus walks per week, and we then keep the additional 1-hour walks on other days. You can really start to mix in all different kinds of surfaces now, but still be mindful of sharp rocks or uneven areas. As an optional bonus, and if you want to take it a step further and you have a bit of extra time, you can include some foot strengthening exercises. I've done another video on that, so I'll put a link to it and you can go and check that out after this if you think that's going to be useful. These can just help your feet adjust a bit more effectively if you need something extra to get you over the line. In weeks 11 and 12, we can then move on to walking 2 hours plus daily in barefoot shoes, and this could be accumulated over the day. By this point, barefoot shoes could now become your primary footwear. You can continue some optional foot exercises to keep your feet in good condition, and as always, scale back if soreness escalates. I just want to add the point that you don't need to throw out all your traditional shoes when you move over to barefoot shoes. Feel free to match traditional shoes and barefoot shoes together. Even some days you might want to use traditional shoes, and other days you might want to use the barefoot shoes. They're both tools, and depending on your life needs and goals, you can use them both together. Another tip I've got for transitioning to barefoot shoes is you can always feel free to put in a slightly thicker insole. You could either double up insoles, or some of the barefoot companies provide a thicker insole. Think of it like progressive overload, but for your feet. On the lighter days, you could use more cushioning with a thicker insole, and on your heavier days, you'd go more minimal. And this way you can kind of manage the soreness of your feet, and if you're going longer distances or walking on rougher terrain, you can adjust the insole accordingly. Transitioning to barefoot shoes isn't about extremes. You're going to need patience and consistency to build this foundation over the first 3 months or potentially longer. Start slow, gradually build up, and listen to your body, and your feet will adapt and you'll get used to barefoot shoes. Just give it time.